All right, back here on Inside Wrestling Radio with Lodi. And before the break, he was telling us about his how he broke into the business and his time at the power plant there. And Lodi, let's skip forward just a little bit here and go to your debut, the night you debuted there on WCW television with Raven and the Flock there. Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, my first night on Nitro that I actually had a wrestling match. I'd been on TV for about 3 months and hadn't had my in-ring debut yet. I had some run-ins or whatever, but my first actual match was with Chris Benoit. And Raven was in an angle with Chris from the time I came on TV, and so I had become pretty close with Chris in a couple of months because every single night we were doing something with him. And not getting into everything that happened at the end of Chris's life, but up until that point, the man I knew, he was one of the most professional guys. And when I say one of the top 3 professional guys I've ever been around or in the ring with in my life. He was absolutely amazing to work with.
Yeah, and everybody to a man will say that about Benoit, and that kind of makes the end there sort of even more tragic if you think about it.
It is tragic, and to have known him the way I did, because we had to work together so much, and not only just travel and see him, but every single night on TV, and then he and Raven had such a good feud that put them back together, so we ran into that thing twice, and Chris did a lot for me and helped me with my career in a lot of ways, backstage, behind the scenes, and just giving me ideas and things. So our first match is one of the coolest wrestling stories I've ever had. I knew a week ahead I was going to have to wrestle Benoit on Nitro, and so my old tag team partner, Toad, said, hey, it's your first match. If Chris were to let you lay out the match, here's what you should do. Well, obviously, I'm the green kid. Benoit's been out forever. He's not going to let me lay this match out.
Sure, yeah.
But Toad and I had come up in our minds with what would be the ideal first Lodi match. And so the next week at TV at 2 o'clock, I see Chris in the catering. I'm like, Chris, can we get together and talk about our match? We got our match tonight. And he's like, Lodi, 2 o'clock, we're eating, I'll get with you later.
Right.
It kind of blew me off. No big deal. I'm the eager kid. If you can see me just jumping around, ready to talk to him, whatever. And
sure.
A couple hours go by, I grab him again. He's like, Lodi, it's only 4:30. I'll talk to you later. Well, back in those days, if you remember, some nights the Flock came out in the middle of the match, in the middle of the show. Some nights we were already ringside before the show started. And this particular night, we were going to walk down before the show started at 8 o'clock. And we're in Buffalo. At this point, it's 7:45. Our show goes live at 8 o'clock. I have not talked to Chris Benoit yet. And it's my first night on Nitro. I want to be good, and I'm nervous because I'm working with Chris Benoit. And finally, I find him. We're getting ready to walk out through the curtain to go sit down in the front row, and I find Chris. He's still in street clothes because our match is towards the end of the first hour. And I'm like, Chris, I got to talk to you about our match. He said, Lodi, quit wearing me out. We got another hour yet. What's wrong? I said, bro, I'm getting ready to walk out this curtain. He looks at me and he says, Lodi, what do you want to do? And I literally, in about a 30-second spiel, gave him the layout that Toad and I came up with for the perfect first Lodi match. He looked at me and said, I'll see you out there. Turned around and walked off. Now, we didn't speak of it again until I climbed in the ring with him. We did that whole match spot by spot the way I laid it out.
Is that right?
He remembered it all.
Wow. And just a short little conversation.
I'm telling you, in 30 seconds, I gave it to him just as fast as I'm talking to you. Just we do this, and then this. He didn't say a word the whole time, but when I finished, I looked at him and he goes, sounds great. See you out there.
Wow. That's fantastic.
And literally, the only thing we missed, if you ever go back and see Lodi's first match, it's on the internet, at my cutoff spot, we ran to the 9 o'clock hour, and our referee said we'd go home because at that point we're going up head-to-head with Raw. We ran long, and Chris tells me, he said, I'm sorry, dude, we got to cut your heat out. We got to go home right now.
Right.
One of my deals was, Chris, he had to finish. Sometimes he'd do the headbutt, sometimes he'd do the crossface,
right.
Sometimes he'd do the superplex, but he rarely did all three. So I said, why don't you hit me with all three of them? Hit me with the superplex, give me the diving headbutt, and then throw me in the crossface. All right, and sure enough, he did it to a T the way I laid it out, so I'm pretty proud of that. Sure. I put that together, and then Benoit showed me what a professional he was by going out and doing it to a T.
Absolutely. And that's a great story. Now, let's jump forward a little bit. We're really short on time here, and I know you got to go. But let's tell us something about your time with Lenny Lane there doing the West Hollywood Blondes gimmick. How'd that come about?
Lenny Lane and I became friends just through seeing each other at TV and through work. And when I say friends, I'm saying acquaintances. See each other building, hey, what's up? The Flock gimmick had ended.
Yeah.
I was basically on my own. Lenny was doing nothing but enhance my talent. And he came to me one day, he said, Lodi, what are they doing with your character? I'm like, they really don't have a lot for me right now. He said, what about you and I forming a tag team? And I remember the first thing I said to him, I looked at him, I said, what are we going to do? Be Lenny and Lodi the losers? Are you kidding me? What kind of tag team is that? He goes, no. He said, it's not a gay thing, but remember the ambiguous gay duo, how they kind of, took up for each other, whatever. He said, you could do something like that. And I'm like, Lenny, there's no way we can do that here. But to just see if he was serious, I said, put it on paper and bring it to me at TV. He does it. The next TV hands me a 3-page paper on how this whole thing's going to run. And I laughed at him, but one of my good buddies was Ross Foreman, who was the editor of the WCW magazine, who happened to be best friends with Kevin Nash. Well, gotcha. Kevin Nash is booking, Ross takes him a sheet, and Kevin pulls me aside and goes, are you serious? We can't do this gay gimmick here.
Right.
I'm like, it's not really a gay gimmick. You got to read it, you know. And he's like, whatever. You know, a couple months go by, I don't hear anything, and I get a phone call. I'm living in L.A. at the time. Surprisingly, people don't know this. I was living in West Hollywood when I started doing the West Hollywood gimmick. I had moved out to California to do some acting. I literally was living in an apartment in West Hollywood. Buddy Ross calls and says, hey, get your stuff ready for Nitro. Kevin Nash is going to call in a few minutes. We're going to do the gimmick with you and Lenny.
Wow.
I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
Sure enough, I got off the phone. My phone rang 5 minutes later. It was Kevin saying, Lodi, we're going to do it.
Wow.
And, you know, that was one of the best times in my life as far as my wrestling career. And
Sure.
Lenny and I became absolute best friends, not only on camera, but behind the scenes, backstage. We traveled together. We shared rooms, hotels. I mean, we worked out together. We went from being acquaintances to literally being best friends and got along so well. I think that came across on TV.
Absolutely.
When we did our angle, we literally could just feed off of each other, and you just can't find that chemistry with anybody. And literally, we were kind of just almost thrown together because we didn't know each other that well, and
Right.
it just became one of the greatest friendships in my life.
Sure. And it really was a great and interesting gimmick, and you guys had a good run. Lodi, we're all the way out of time here. In the last minute or so we got, tell everybody what you got going on currently. Tell us about your personal training business and what wrestling you're doing.
Hey, real quick, I'm wrestling every weekend somewhere, and on the weekends I'm not. I wish I was. So if you want to book Lodi, Lodi1Brad, AOL.com. You can find me on Facebook. It's Brad Lodi Kane. Personal training business here in Charlotte, North Carolina is YourFlexAppeal.com. All that stuff's on the internet. And you can dig me up. So if you want to see Lodi in your hometown or somewhere near you, just tell your local promoter, go book Lodi. I work real cheap these days because I love wrestling. So bring me in and I'll perform for you.
Fantastic. Lodi, it's been a thrill having you on the radio show today, man. I really appreciate you doing it for us, and continue success, and we'll see you out there, man.
All right, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. God bless.
Thanks a lot. All right, we'll be right back. More Inside Wrestling Radio coming up next.